Adapting a book into a movie or a TV show is a hard challenge to accomplish. To be successful, the spirit of the original needs to stay true to itself, and one of the hardest things to properly adapt is the narrator, or the character's internal monologue. The internal monologues offer a reader a deeper, complex understanding of the characters that we will be getting to know over the course of the book. We hear their thoughts, justifications, and reasonings. This is a hard thing to nail when it comes to adaptations because we are no longer an audience that is hearing the characters' thoughts. They need to be said aloud. With the Harry Potter series, Book Harry is incredibly sassy and rude at times. Sarcasm is at the forefront of his personality. We go through all 8 books inside Harry's mind and hearing his voice. Harry in the movies, however, has a personality of a wet napkin. And the closest look we have to a proper adaptation of Book Harry's personality is when Daniel Radcliffe was drunk, filming Harry high on Felix Felicis.
Exactly how did you get out of the castle, Harry?
Oh, through the front door, sir.
Harry!
Sir. Not to mention the pincers.
The reason that this scene stands out so well is that this is how Harry is always acting in the books. Here he is just saying it aloud. He's saying it aloud in the books too, but we understand that he's always thinking it in the books, whereas we don't really get that impression from the movies. The movies can't have him say a lot of his sassy thoughts aloud because it'll come with consequences, whereas in the books he can just think it. We don't get that kind of understanding when it comes to the movies. In Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Coriolanus Snow thinks of Lucy Gray as his property. This is the mindset he has, and it impacts all of the decisions that he makes. He says it in the book outright that he thinks of Lucy Gray as his property. He's trying to own and control her. The movie, lacking the ability to have Coriolanus outright say this, a lot of that implications and aspect of control is kind of lost on the audience. It makes Coriolanus seem more sympathetic or more like an honest person, that he truly cares about Lucy Gray as a person rather than just a being that he wants to control. I believe that the new Percy Jackson show was hit hard by this change, but still managed to make the most of it. We have the iconic opening of,
"Look, I didn't want to be a half-blood."
But for the whole show to include this kind of narration will be such a deviation and kill the pacing of the mystery. The Lightning Thief is a mystery book that requires Percy to do a lot of problem solving and learning and uncovering the mystery. In the format of the book, we can read his thoughts, but in the show, we need to wait for the explanation or to piece it together ourselves. Take Medusa, for example. This is the knowledge that the trio has. The place's name is Auntie M's. There's stone garden gnomes out front. The person wears a veil to cover their face, and the Fury, the thing they are currently running from and they know is strong, is cowering in fear and not making a move on the trio because of this person. Now, with the knowledge that Greek myths are real, Greek myths are a history lesson to these kids, the jump to Medusa is not an illogical one. To surprise the audience with Medusa in the show would have to take out a lot of these clues to make it be a surprise for the audience, because a lot of these clues are dead giveaways for it being Medusa. It doesn't help that they announced the casting for Medusa, so the second you saw the actress, you knew who she was. But that's besides the point. In the book, Annabeth should have figured it out herself as well. All of these clues and sense of obliviousness would be hard to ignore, so the cast pieces it together quickly and proceeds with the knowledge that this person is Medusa rather than being surprised of it. But the outcome of needing to outplay Medusa and to kill her is the same. One complaint I have about the complaints of the show is that the characters are too smart. However, that's the same in the books. In the books, Percy is our narrator, and he's the only one who thinks that he's stupid. The reason that we, the reader, think Percy is stupid compared to everyone else is because he's next to Annabeth, and he thinks he's stupid. Regular audiences who just done passive research into Greek mythology would be able to piece together some of the same parallels and clues into the story as Percy does. Now, add to the fact that Percy had Chiron as a teacher, and his mom, who was teaching him myths from a very early age as childhood stories. And then you combine that with the knowledge that the myths are real, prevalent, and heavily intertwined with the quest and the culture. He's gotta catch up on the references to the myths. He knows the myths, he grew up with the myths, he's used to them, and that's how it should be. The reason that his reason for understanding of everything seems quicker in the show is due to the fact that we don't have his thought process. We can't see how he thinks directly as things happen. We don't get his internal monologue in between sentences or actions. We have to hear about it afterwards. The internal monologue and narration in the books that connects the dialogue is the most important part. And you don't have that luxury of being able to explain things when it comes to a show. You have to show it and have the characters have an understanding and say it to make us know that the characters know this as well. Which is why a lot of the show has to rely on verbal dialogue rather than internal thoughts. A lot of adaptations struggle with adapting the internal monologue, and that doesn't make them bad adaptations.